Alright, so how could I not make a video about this? We have an expert in Michael Pachter talking about Sony's PlayStation changing or being doomed in the next 10 years due to Xbox and the way they're making Game Pass. This was all said on our podcast, RDX, which is on Dealer Gaming's channel. Let's get into what's being said and what I think about this whole thing because there's a lot to talk about here. So let's just get right into it because it's pretty intense. Hey, what's up everyone? Thanks for stopping by and checking out the video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to be notified on future content, hit that small little bell icon. And if you want to go that extra mile to support the channel, hit that join button. Alright, so this is going to be a little bit of a different video because I'm going to cite and talk about a podcast I've been a part of for the last 3 years now. That's the RDX podcast where I talk gaming with some of my best friends around. It's on Dealer Gaming's channel and we have a great time talking about the gaming industry, tech, games, and pretty much anything because we have a good time doing it. Yet this week, we had a pretty awesome special guest in Michael Pachter, who I have to say fit in perfectly with us and just had a great time talking about the industry, Activision Blizzard, Sony, and a bunch of other things revolving around gaming. It was all in all a pretty great conversation. Yet during the podcast, he mentioned something that I knew would get people up in arms. I knew articles were going to be written about his statements, especially since he's a very well-known and respected analyst in the gaming industry. This is in regards to Sony and how they're going to be doomed in the next 10 years because of the way Microsoft has changed the gaming industry and the gaming market, specifically surrounding Game Pass and the amount of content that's going to be in that service. In fact, let's get into the article, but also get into what's being said by Pachter himself. The PlayStation brand is doomed and will likely cease to exist in the next decade, according to one veteran industry figure. Outspoken video game analyst Michael Pachter appeared on the latest episode of the RDX podcast, where he was asked for his thoughts on whether PlayStation could ever truly compete with Xbox's widely successful Game Pass subscription model. He makes it pretty clear that he does not. I think PlayStation is doomed, and I think they're going to cease to exist as we know them in about 10 years, Pachter said. They can't compete. They have no chance of competing. They're not a couple of years behind. It's an insurmountable lead. Okay, so first of all, he does say that PlayStation is going to cease to exist in the next decade. If you read the quote word for word, he says they will cease to exist as we know them in about 10 years. Now, that doesn't mean that PlayStation is going to be gone and we won't have their games or their first-party studios bringing out bangers like they usually do. What he means is that they won't be doing business the way we traditionally know how they do business today, which means they won't bring out exclusive games just on one platform. They won't bank on the archaic way of doing business in the gaming world. That's something that I've talked about for a very long time, along with other gaming channels that we can see the tea leaves come into place. Not to mention Jim Ryan himself has stated they'll be going multi-platform in the near future. This was announced after they bought Bungie for that massive amount of money, and they talked about going multi-platform and bringing out games pretty much everywhere. Yet even with that, I don't think Sony can compete with what Xbox is building with Game Pass. Pachter thinks the same thing when he talked about the amount of content that's going to be on Xbox Game Pass. He talked about all of the Call of Duty games coming to Game Pass that's 18 years of history, or the fact that you can get World of Warcraft on the platform and boom, you instantly can reach over 10 to 15 million PC players that play that game. Throw in all the other Blizzard games and the Activision games and you can start to see what's going to happen when Xbox fully uses the amount of content creators they have under their belt. Yet does that mean Sony will cease to exist in the form we know them now? Well, that article brings that up right here. It's a bold prediction, given the current success that Sony is enjoying with the PlayStation 5. Just last month, it emerged that the PS5 managed to almost double the sales of the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S combined. However, it is important to note that Xbox Game Pass extends beyond hardware, allowing gamers to access a vast library of video games from almost any screen with an internet connection. If we truly do begin to move beyond traditional hardware in the next decade, it's undeniable that PlayStation will be at a significant disadvantage. And this is where I think Pachter is making his point. While his big headline take was that Sony's PlayStation is doomed and all of that, he also mentioned on the podcast that consoles in 10 to 15 years are going to be a thing of the past, that consumers won't need consoles to play their games. It will go away in the form of a stick plugged into your TV or even a TV app natively onto your screen. Or you can go the more expensive big route and get a PC that will run these games at top quality. Something that Xbox has been building towards for a very, very long time now. They have their games on every single platform from PC, console, and of course the cloud. If in 10 years consoles are starting to be pushed away, this is an obvious advantage that Xbox has over Sony. Because let's be real, the main thing that PlayStation has is their ecosystem and the console, and their name. Yet we can see console sales drop in certain regions but blow up in others. So it's not as black and white as others think. Not to mention, Sony isn't outselling Xbox 3-1 anymore like they did during the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 generation. So the competition is very, very competitive, and that's not even throwing the Switch in there, which has outsold pretty much everyone. So what can Sony do to compete? Well, they can create something similar, which is said right here. With that said, we do know that PlayStation is already making moves to completely overhaul the PlayStation Plus subscription service and offering something a little more akin to Xbox Game Pass. Rumors suggest the new PlayStation Plus will include access to PS Now, as well as a few other bonuses like free trial periods and classic games. In a recent piece by L'Atelier, butchered that name, analyzing the future of gaming services, our very own Mike Diver argued that if Sony can switch the 50 million or so PlayStation Plus subscribers it already has to a service that more closely resembles Game Pass, adding in things like the PlayStation Now library and day one first-party releases, then Microsoft's lead in the rush towards a Netflix for games could vanquish overnight. In other words, the race is far from won. Okay, so let's talk about this because there is a lot being said right there. The first thing is that PlayStation Spartacus, which is rumored to launch this year, is a far cry from what Xbox is providing with Game Pass. If you looked at the tiers, it was obvious that Sony doesn't want to put their first-party games in there day and date, not to mention they're charging for back compat, and you're not even getting those games on PC like you do with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Yet it's something that's going to be forced on them because Microsoft is doing this with far more valuable franchises like Elder Scrolls, Call of Duty, and of course Halo and other big franchises in those first-party studios that they have now. Those franchises are either equal or bigger than the franchises Sony has on their side. So there's no excuse for them to not do what Xbox is doing. Yet what this analyst says about converting the 50 million PlayStation Plus subscribers to their Spartacus subscription is a little weird. I think what they're trying to do is what Xbox did, which was combine Game Pass with Xbox Live and see who wants to join this service. Basically make Xbox Live almost free or irrelevant to the value that Game Pass gives you. Now, PlayStation Now or PlayStation Plus has provided some great games on their service, but it's a split thing right now. Combining their efforts into a single service seems like a better use of resources. But I think there's one thing people aren't talking about. It's the amount of time it takes Sony to adjust how they do things. Pachter said that Gaikai, the streaming service they bought back in 2012 or around that time, was a massive mistake and a big money hole. The amount of time it takes them to change their business ideas is another roadblock for Jim Ryan and how he wants to adjust this generation. No matter the cause, we won't see these changes to the business as quickly as people think. As for them releasing PC games, I think that might happen sooner than later. Yet putting things on a service like Game Pass might be a while from now. Not because it's impossible, but because they know that it's an insurmountable lead that Xbox has, which is what Pachter was trying to say on the podcast. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's a doom and gloom thing that we're seeing with Sony. He's talking candidly, and he's trying to say that the way Sony is built today won't last 10 years from now. So for the next 10 years, they have to change and adjust for the way they do business if they want to stay relevant in the gaming market, which Jim Ryan is doing already with the changes to multiplatform and buying studios that will make games for all platforms like Bungie. That's going to be the most vital aspect of PlayStation the next 10 years. So while Sony's PS5 might be doomed in the way they currently do business, that doesn't mean the games or the platform will be done entirely. Instead, they'll be a completely different company with some of the best first-party games coming to multiple platforms. Let's hope we get to see these changes, but also get to see the amount of competition Xbox and Sony will have with each other. Because so far, this next generation has started off very intense, and if you pay attention to the gaming market, you know things can switch in a heartbeat. I mean, look at Xbox 5 years ago, look at it today. Look at Sony 10 years ago, and look at it today. It's all different. Things shift. Xbox has a far more stable platform, far more expansive platform than they did 5 or 6 years ago. So 10 years is a very long time to see massive changes for a company like Sony, not to mention adjustments that Xbox will make in 10 years also. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what happens, because this next generation is going to be insane. But enough of what I think about all this. Tell me what you think about all this. Do you agree with Michael Pachter? Is Sony doomed in the next 10 to 15 years? Will PlayStation be a dead platform by then? Is Xbox's lead really that far ahead? What other platform can even compete with Microsoft in what they're doing? Is the gaming world about to change even more? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button to support us out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there. So get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamertag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing and let's compete in achievements for the month. So right now, you guessed it, let's all just get together. We're playing Elden Ring. At least I am. I can't stop playing it. It is literally the best RPG open world game I've ever played. I keep finding new areas, new secret dungeons, new secret everything, and I'm having a blast doing it. I mean, there's castles everywhere that are kind of big, where they're like 2 to 3 hours to clear, and those are called minor dungeons, which I love. Not to mention the big dungeons that I do last, which are called legacy dungeons, which take me about 6 to 8, sometimes 9 hours to clear. This game is insanely massive. I love the open world. I just respect my guy to get a shield and a sword, so I'm messing things up. Trust me, one of the best games to ever come out. I recommend everybody check it out. This thing should sell well over 20 to 30 million units easy, because it's one of the best games to come out. So get on that, because I've been playing it on the Xbox Series X and having a blast. Not to mention, I even have it on PC. I have it pretty much on every platform because I want to play where all my friends are. If somebody's on Xbox, I want to play there. If somebody's on PC, I want to play there also. But let me know what you're playing. Are you playing Elden Ring? Are you playing Horizon Forbidden West? Are you on your Xbox, your PS5, or are you on your PC? Let me know down below, because that's what we're here for, is to talk games. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.